It is one of the most hotly contested ballot issues in Tennessee history, and the battle over Amendment 1 is still not over. Debate on the measure that gives lawmakers the power to regulate abortions heads to court tomorrow. New at 10 News Channel 5's Emily Luxon spoke with one of the plaintiffs in the case. Emily, what are her concerns?
Well, she doesn't think the state properly counted the votes, and now opponents are hoping this lawsuit will eventually lead to a recount, and they think that will lead to a different result. You may remember the signs that lined sidewalks across Nashville and the emotional debate over Amendment 1.
This is a law that's taking away privacy rights and the ability of anyone to terminate a pregnancy.
It reflects the cultural values that we believe that life begins at conception.
In November of 2014, the amendment that gave lawmakers more power to restrict abortions passed with 53% of the vote. But Ellen Wright Clayton had concerns about the results and now joins other opponents in filing a lawsuit against the state.
It is our contention that if the votes had been counted appropriately, that is, if we counted the votes of the people who voted for governor and who also voted on Amendment number 1, that we think there is a very good likelihood that Amendment 1 would not have passed.
For an amendment to pass, the Tennessee Constitution says it must receive, quote, a majority of all of the citizens of the state voting for governor. During the campaign, some argued voters should vote for Amendment 1, but not the governor's race, to help boost the chances of it passing.
Don't vote in the governor's race. Did you hear that? If you want to double your vote, don't vote in the governor's race.
Ellen argues that anyone who voted for an amendment but didn't vote in the governor's race cast an ineligible vote.
The failure to count it correctly, as required by the Tennessee Constitution, violates our constitutional rights, both under the Tennessee Constitution and also under the federal Constitution, because it dilutes our vote.
Court documents show election officials believe the votes were counted properly, and so-called strategic voting does not violate the Constitution. Still, Ellen is optimistic about the outcome.
I think we've got it hands down on the law. We ought to win this.
The case will be heard in U.S. District Court tomorrow morning at 9:30. If the plaintiffs win, it could cast doubt on whether other constitutional amendments are valid, and it could also force state election officials to have to hand count ballots for future amendments. We'll continue to follow this developing story. Reporting live in the newsroom, Emily Luxon, News Channel 5.
Emily, thank you. Now, 2 new laws regarding abortions were enacted within months of the election. One regulates providers and the other requires a 48-hour waiting period. However, both are facing legal challenges.